Hussein to come up and start with the recitation of the Holy Quran. Salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان والأرض وضعها للأنام فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات الأكمام والحب ذو العصف والريحان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان خلق الإنسان من صلصال كالفخار وخلق الجان من مارج من نار فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان رب المشرقين ورب المغربين فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان مرج البحرين يلتقيان بينهما برزخ لا يبغيان صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Jazakallah, brother, for that beautiful recitation. I would now like to invite Brother Ali Ibrahim for the recitation of a poem in honor of our beloved Imam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
صلوات. There is one God, five other Panjitan, Imams are 12, 14 are the Masumin. There is one God, five other Panjitan, Imams are 12, 14 are the Masumin. First is Imam Ali, whose title is Murtaza. Then comes Imam Hassan, who is called Al-Mujtaba. Third is Imam Hussein, the king of Karbala. Their mother is Fatima, who is titled Sayyada. There is one God, five other Panjitan, Imams are 12, 14 are The name of the fifth Imam is Muhammad ibn Ali, titled the name of Baqir, just like we all can see. He was also trained in knowledge, knowledge of all there can be, saluting from the heavens to the angel Jibreel. There is one God, five other Panjitan, Imams are 12, 14 are the Masumeen. Jafar's the name of our sixth beloved Imam, whose quote seems like the verses from the Holy Quran. Imam Sadiq is titled the Chief of Honesty. Derived from this Imam is Fiqh Jafari. There is one God, five other Panjatan, Imams are 12, 14 are the Masumeen. Qasim was a turtle crowned to our seventh Imam. Musa was the name of the son of Sadiq alayhi salam. He spent his entire life with the chains of the prison, and blessed the prison with his touch, his holy presence. There is one God, five other Panjatan, Imams are 12, 14 are the Masumeen. The name of our eighth Imam was Ali al-Raza. With his name we protect our family and beyond. The name is what we remember when we bear his amen. Our wishes will get granted from the doors of his wasi. There is one God, five other Panjatan, Imams are 12, 14 are the Masumeen. Jawad is the lovely name of our ninth Imam. At-Taqi is what we call him, Taqi alayhi salam. Fire filled his veins, even in the battlefield. Before enemies even saw him, they would fall and flee. There is one God, five other Panjatan, Imams are 12, 14 are the Masumeen. Our 10th Imam was chivalrous like his father Taqi. The title Allah gave to him was Imam al-Naqi. His appearance was so wonderful, filled with purity. His character resembled the character of Nabi. There is one God, five other Panjatan, Imams are 12, 14 are the Masumeen. Hassan is the name of valor, our 11th Imam. His title was his name, Askari alayhi salam. Fighter is what we call him, his strength we all can see. His piousness and virtue, flawless was his purity. There is one God, five other Panjatan, Imams are 12, 14 are the Masumeen. Our 12th Imam is called the Noble Imam Mahdi. Imam of our time, he is a God we all can feel. He loved you and your pain, confusion we can be. Just close your eyes and call him, then you will surely see. There shaitan. Imams are 12, 14 are the Masumeen. There is one God, 5 other Panjatan. Imams are 12, 14 are the Masumeen. Salawat.
Jazakallah, brother. Thank you so much for that beautiful recitation. Before we invite Sayyid Sulaiman, I just want to ask everyone to recite a Fatiha for the sponsors of tonight, Brother Jawad Hussein and family, as well as for the marhumeen of all of those mu'mineen around the world, those who don't have anyone to recite Fatiha for them, and especially the Shahada of all the times, including the Shahada of our times, those who have died fighting for the resistance, those who have passed away in the genocide that is currently ongoing. Without further ado, I'd like to invite our Sayyid to address the gathering on this beloved, blessed occasion. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
I think this has to come back. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين المبعوث رحمة للعالمين، شفيع المذنبين وحبيب قلوب الصادقين، سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي، أما بعد. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I would begin by offering my du'as and congratulations to all of us on the very blessed occasion of the anniversary of the birth of our 11th Imam, the heir and the great-grandson of our Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, and the father of the Imam of our time, and that is Imam Hassan ibn Ali al-Zaki al-Askari alayhim as-salatu was-salam. Now, at any time of happiness or celebration, whether it be an occasion of religious celebration, like the birth of one of our Imams, or a day of Eid, or a day of personal celebration, like when a person graduates from college or school or celebrates a milestone in their life, we have to remember that this is also a time of great tragedy for our ummah. We are coming close to the 2-year anniversary of a tragedy that is multifaceted. One is the animosity and the oppression of the enemies of the Muslims and the enemies, in fact, of humanity and the enemies of God in their continued aggression against an innocent civilian population and their most basic rights and dignities. And over the last 2 years, we have seen a very vicious face of aggression and oppression and a lack of any shame on the part of those who are occupying and attacking an innocent people, who, by the way, are not all Muslims. Among them are Muslims, and among them are Christians, and among them also may be people who do not follow any religion, but they are creatures of Allah and they are human beings. It doesn't matter if they are Shia or if they are Sunni, if they are Muslim or if they are non-Muslim. They have the rights given to them by Allah, and those rights are being abandoned. But that is just one dimension of the tragedy. Perhaps not even the greatest dimension. Another dimension of that tragedy is that 2 years and the Muslim Ummah has not been able to marshal an effective response and a defense of their dignity and of their rights and of their principles. And perhaps we can say that the aggression and the animosity of our enemies, that is a given. That is to be expected, and that is how every prophet and every pious community in history has had to struggle. But the fact that there are people who are calling out, Ya lil-Muslimin, calling out to the Muslims, come to our aid, recognize that we are being attacked, and we are not calling out in sympathy, but rather we are calling out as one front of the struggle and the battle of the entire ummah and of entire humanity as a whole. And there is almost no one, I won't say no one, but there is almost no one who answers that call. The animosity of the enemy is something that we can say is to be expected. And we are to rise to that challenge, and we are to fight against them. But the fact that the Muslims are not able to come together and respond, that is not expected and that is not natural. That is not just a tragedy, but it is a crime. And the ummah as a collective is responsible for that crime. Each and every one of us. And we cannot say that, well, it is the leaders, the people are good. Like sometimes people say that, you know what, our centers, they are not functioning as they should, and we sit on the sidelines and we analyze and we criticize. Where is the transparency? Where is the understanding of our priorities? Why are they doing this and why are they not doing that? But remember, as a collective, we only perform to the extent of every individual within that collective. So I, as an alim, cannot say that, well, the community is the problem, otherwise, I am perfect. And as a member of the Muslim community, I cannot say, you know what, I have the best of intentions, but it is our ulama who are not rising to their responsibilities. It is our institutions that are not rising to their responsibilities. It is our political leaders. The politicians are corrupt. The governments are corrupt. They have sold out. I am fine. Okay, what have I sacrificed for the sake of Allah? Where have I shown Allah that I am willing to suffer a loss of reputation, a loss of material profit, a loss of my own worldly interests for the sake of God, for me then to say that no, the problem is the politician, the problem is the institution, the problem is somewhere else other than myself. And of course the solution is that each and every one of us, we need to feel and shoulder our share of that responsibility. If the Ummah has 2 billion people, then it is not my job to make sure that the people of Gaza have food and have shelter and that they have somebody to stand up for their rights alone. But I share my portion of that responsibility. And through dua, and through my words, and through my deeds, I need to feel that percentage of responsibility. And if I just say that it is somebody else who is at fault, then in reality, I am compounding the problem. I am not diagnosing, but I am increasing. The same thing is true when we come down to the more individual or the local level. Sometimes we have many diagnoses, we have many analyses, but we are not ready to rise to roll up our own sleeves and to throw ourselves into the thick of things and to respond. And therefore, maybe our analysis is very profound, but it is not going to lead to an improvement. It is not going to lead to a change in our situation. So although the birth of an Imam is a day of happiness and celebration, it is also a day of humility and prayer. To recognize that when the Ummah is suffering, there is nobody who is more pained and more concerned with that suffering than our Prophet and Ahlul Bayt of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. We are bothered when we remember, and then we get distracted with so many other things in our life. But there is no distraction for our Prophet. There is no distraction for our Imams. They are living and they are feeling and they are grieving that pain of the members of their Ummah in every moment. And we honor our Imams by living those same principles and that same loyalty and love which they lived. And if sometimes you feel like there is not much that you can do, well, you can pray. You can raise your voice. You can hold your own leaders and your own politicians to account. You can do much more than maybe you think. But separate from what you can do in the face of oppression and in the face of political and social attack, there is something very profound that nobody can take away from you. And that is to improve your own intention and devotion to Allah by purifying my intention, by rectifying my character. I become a better means for the light that God has revealed to humanity to spread. I become a representative of those values and those ideals that Allah wants humanity to live by. And so one of the things that you can do for Palestine, one of the things that I can do for every oppressed person in Lebanon or Yemen or Iraq or Iran or Afghanistan or Palestine or any other place in the world, is I can say that, oh Allah, those things that you have taught me that are obligatory, Maybe sometimes I was lax, but now I will be more careful and I will be more regular. What does that have to do with the suffering of those people in that part of the world? Well, what is causing that suffering? What is causing that suffering is turning away from the light and the guidance of Allah. It is not a lack of weapons. It is not a lack of money. It is not a lack of numbers of people. But it is a lack of courage and faith. And so everything that you do to strengthen your faith and your reliance on Allah and your courage, that is a service to the cause of truth. I'm not saying that's all you can do. That people are suffering and people are dying, so open your Quran and read Quran. But what I am saying is that in addition to all of the other things that you can do, if you say to Allah, because there is so much suffering and even evil in the world, I will read more Quran, then this is part of that struggle. If you say there is so much evil in the world, so I will tune it out and I will just do my prayers, then that is not right. But if you say part of what I will do to oppose evil is that I will be more careful and I will be more regular in my prayers. And when I am able to take off work, then I won't do my prayer individually in a storage room at work, but I will take the time and I will go and I will attend Jum'ah. Even if it's a little bit inconvenience, and even if I have to miss lunch, or I have to go back to work and stay a little bit longer, or I have to go earlier in the morning, but that's a sacrifice I will make to come together and to do my prayer in Jama'at and to honor the commandment to do Jum'ah and to come together with my fellow Muslims to worship and to pray. Everything that you do to increase your faith and increase your courage, that is not sufficient, but that is the foundation and that is the most important part of what you are doing against the oppressor and in favor of and for the benefit of the oppressed. And if you want to understand how that works, who is it that is causing that suffering in these areas in the Muslim world in particular, but throughout the world? Do you think that it is a prime minister, or it is a president, or it is a general, or it is some individual? This is shaitan. This is a manifestation of the animosity of shaitan against humanity, against Adam and the descendants of Adam. Because Adam was made the Khalifa of Allah, the vicegerent of God on the earth, shaitan wants Adam and his descendants to turn away from God. And each of our prophets and each of our imams, they were the vicegerent of God, the Adam of their time. And so shaitan's animosity was against them. Yazid was not the one who caused the oppression against Imam Hussein. Yazid was just a soldier in the army of shaitan. Fir'aun was not the tyrant who oppressed Musa alayhi salam, but Fir'aun was just a soldier in the army of shaitan. And it is that same battle that was fought by Numrud, that was fought by Fir'aun, that was fought by Abu Sufyan, that was fought by Yazid, that is being fought by the tyrants of today. All of them are soldiers of shaitan. And so anything that you do to fight shaitan, even in your own individual life, to say no to temptation and to say no to his whisperings and to turn your life towards Allah is a battle in that same war. Even if I just say that I will turn off the TV and I am going to do my prayer. Even if I say that I am not going to commit a sin, I am not going to eat something that is not halal, I am not going to drink something that is not halal. I am not going to listen to something or watch something that is prohibited by Allah. I don't see the connection. I think this is my individual life, and that tyranny, that oppression, that is something else. But if I understand who is the commander-in-chief of that oppressive army, then I will see that it is a single battlefield. And that is why it is so important for us to remember our imams. Because if there is a commander-in-chief of the forces opposing truth and justice, then there is a commander-in-chief of those who are fighting on the side of Allah. And it is very ironic that some people, they doubt the existence of an imam in every era. And they doubt the long life of Imam Mahdi. May Allah hasten his appearance. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. But they admit the long life of shaitan, that he was given a life until the appointed time before the day of judgment, that Allah has given shaitan that time to tempt people and lead them away from the truth. But they do not understand that Allah has appointed a guide, and if Allah can extend the life of shaitan, then why is it far-fetched for Allah to extend the life of the one who is going to guide people and bring them to illumination and to guidance? Today is the day for us to remember the father of our present Imam and the 11th of the successors of our blessed Prophet, Imam Hassan al-Askari. May Allah send his salutations and his blessings upon him. Salawat. Imam Hassan al-Askari lived a very short life. He was on this earth for just under 28 years. According to most narrations, he was born in Rabi' al-Thani in the year 232 after the hijrah of the Prophet. So about 220 years after the death of the Prophet. If we just imagine how far back in history that was, the same distance that separates you from the War of 1812. That was about 2 centuries and a few years ago. So about that same time, 220 lunar years. So 210 solar years approximately. There's many generations removed from the time of the Prophet, and the Muslim Ummah had seen many ups and downs, but Ahlul Bayt were the continuity of the memory of the Prophet and the teachings and the values of the Prophet. Imam Hassan al-Askari, according to most narrations, was born in Madinatun Nabi, the city of the Prophet. Although either when he was 1 year old or when he was 4 years old, in the year 233 or in the year 236. So at a very young age, when his father, Imam Ali al-Naqi alayhi salam, was brought by the Abbasid government and kept under house arrest by Mutawakkil, so Imam Hassan Askari, as a very young child, was with his father. And this is why there is some confusion about where he was born. Was he born in Medina or was he born in Samarra? But the most prevalent view among scholars and historians is that he was born in Madinatun Nabi, the city of the Prophet, but at a young age he went with his father, not by their own choice, but because of the summons of the Abbasid government, and the remainder of the life of our 11th Imam, it was in Samarra, under house arrest with his father, and then after the martyrdom of his father, he was also under house arrest. Some narrations say he was born on the 10th of Rabi'ul Thani, which will be tomorrow, and other narrations say that he was born on the 8th of Rabi'ul Thani, which was yesterday. So there are two different narrations about the day of the birth of our 11th Imam. And as many of you know, he was martyred on the 8th of Rabi'ul Awwal. So just 1 month short of completing 28 years. Almost 28 years. It's a very short life. And the imamat of our 11th Imam, it was the shortest period of imamat out of all 12 Imams, 11 of whom have been martyred, and of course the 12th of whom is still alive, and the length of his imamat is many centuries. But the shortest imamat is the imamat of our 11th Imam, Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam. Salawatullah Muhammad wa alayhi. Just 6 years from the martyrdom of his father, Imam Ali al-Naqi, until his own martyrdom on the 8th of Rabi'ul Awwal in the year 260. Exactly 2.5 centuries after the death of our blessed Prophet. In this short period, Imam Hassan al-Askari, he lived in house arrest. And in reality, it was very difficult for the Shia to even glimpse the person of the Imam. The Abbasids, outwardly, they had shown a great deal of respect to Imam Ali Naqi and to Imam Hassan al-Askari. But that outward respect, it was just to deceive the Muslims and make them think that Ahlul Bayt are safe. And many Muslims, because they were naive, they were simple, they thought everything is okay. Just to draw a comparison to our own time, it really pains the heart sometimes. You see Muslims, they say, oh, you know what, there is a court case in an international court of justice or in the United Nations, or there is a campaign to ban the occupying entity from a sports event. You know, this is a success. The tide is turning. Sometimes people are naive. Those are good things if they are taking place. But that is an insult that my mother is homeless. My brother and sister have to search among garbage for food, and their cities, their home has been bombed. And I say, oh, my oppressor, they're not going to be able to participate in an international music competition. Or in this city, the Muslims, they had a candlelight vigil, or they had those things are good. But the reality is that this is a weakness if we put our hopes in appearances. And even today, there are so many Muslim leaders and so many Muslim politicians and so many Muslims, they think that an eloquent speech takes the place of actual support. Look at the Muslims around you today. They say, this is our hero. He gave such a great speech in favor of the Palestinians. Yes. But have they boycotted the oppressor? Have they taken any action in support of the oppressed? Otherwise, even the Abbasids, they would give a great speech and show outward honor to Ahlul Bayt. But in reality, that was the tragedy of the oppression of Ahlul Bayt. It was more difficult to be in that outward honor and be imprisoned, perhaps, than to be in a dungeon in both cases you are a prisoner. But when the animosity is open, at least people know that you are oppressed, and they can rally to your support. So what was the nature of this oppression? It is said that Imam Hassan al-Askari, he was compelled to present himself to the Caliph every Monday and every Thursday, twice a week, 3 or 4 days apart. And this was one way that the government would keep tabs on people. Make sure that they are not traveling, they are not doing anything that is, unfamiliar. And sometimes the government would observe who is coming with them, who is speaking with them. And this is how they would spy on the Shia and on the opposition to their tyranny. So outwardly, Imam Hassan Askari, this was an honor given to him by the Caliph. It was an honor to be brought into the presence of the Caliph. Some people, they may have that honor once a year. And Imam Hassan Askari, outwardly, he had that honor twice a week. But in reality, this was not an honor. This was a way for the government to try to surround the Imam and to prevent him from having any contact with his followers. It is said that the Shia sometimes they would come and they would line up on the streets of Samarra on Mondays and on Tuesdays so that they would be able, if not speak to the Imam, at least see the Imam with their own eyes. And one day there was a companion by the name of Ali ibn Ja'far. He says that I came to Samarra with that purpose. And before the day came when we were going to wish to see the Imam, a letter came to us from Imam Hassan Askari. And in that letter, the Imam says that if you line up to see me, then don't send your salam on me with your words as I pass. And don't stare at me and don't point towards me with your fingers and say, there is the Imam. Because the government has spies, the Imam does not say that it is going to cause harm to me. He says that they are going to cause harm to you. That is why they are bringing me. So imagine the level of surveillance and the level of oppression that many Muslims, they thought, this is good. They put their hopes. And in reality, that is a cause for the suffering of the Imam. But there was a wisdom in the separation between the Imam and the Shia. And this is very similar to a parent. Parents, we want to take care of our children. And we want to protect them from every risk or every harm. But a time comes when you have to prepare your children to make their own decisions and even make their own mistakes. And as a parent, your task is not to just correct them, but to strengthen them so they can learn and develop the confidence and the skills to make good decisions on their own. And in our teaching, the parents never say, all right, you're 18, you leave home. We never say that you make the decision, don't ask me about it, don't talk to me about it. That is not our value system and that is not our culture. And that is not something that we should ever adopt from the society or from the culture around us, no matter how popular or how tempting it may be. But you cannot also say that until one day you are entirely under my protection and then one day you are going to be entirely on your own. That is not going to be a successful change. You need to gradually say that now you are 16, you are still my responsibility. But I am going to give you a little bit more authority, a little bit more freedom to make your own decisions. But I will require you to check in with me, for example. You can't just decide that you are going to go on a weekend trip with one of your friends. You cannot decide that you are going to go somewhere without my permission. But rather than me setting your schedule for your after-school activities, maybe I will give you a little bit of freedom. Come to me, and then we will discuss it, and I will either approve or I will disapprove. Then as the child becomes older, you may give them even more freedom. You might say, come to me when you need advice. Check in with me periodically, but I am not going to ask you, why did you buy ice cream this day, and why did you do this, and why did you do that? Now, there is a greater level of maturity. And this is what prepares a child to enter into independent life and be a successful adult. So the period of Imamat of Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salam, it was also by the will and the wisdom of Allah, a period when the Imam was kept at some distance from the Shia through the oppression of the government, but that oppression of the government through the plan of Allah became a preparation for the Shia. How are you to live when your Imam is not in your midst? Because after the death of Imam Hassan Askari, that was going to be the lived reality of the followers of Ahlul Bayt. The Imam is not going to be under house arrest. The Imam is going to be in ghaibah and in concealment by Allah. So how can you go from a period where your parent is fully in control to a period where you don't have access to your parent? There is a transition period, and this was the wisdom and the plan of Allah. And I will conclude by saying that for this period, Imam Hassan Askari gave guidance to the Shia. That how are we now to live? When your parent is not there, then it becomes even more important for the siblings to have close relationships. Because now the parent is not there to keep you together. And when your Imam is not there, then it becomes even more important for the Ummah to have good relationships with each other. Because you and I have to fill the responsibility and the shoes that until now our caretaker, our patron, our parent, our Imam was filling. That absence will always be there because nobody can take the place of a parent. And nobody can take the place of an Imam. But in the absence of the Imam, then it is more important for us to be forgiving, for us to be gracious, for us to be merciful, for us to look out for one another and take care of one another so that we can maintain our religion, our values, our social responsibilities, and protect our identity until the return of our Imam. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So what are those wasaya of the Imam? I'll just mention two wasiyah, two pieces of advice from our 11th Imam, inshallah, and then we will conclude for today. This is a gift. In a happy occasion, we usually look for a gift. So advice from Ahlul Bayt, that is the most precious gift that they have given us. The first, our 11th Imam is reported to have said, قُولُوا لِلنَّاسِ حُسْنًا. Speak goodness and well towards people. This is also the mithaq that Allah took from Bani Israel, mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah, وَقُولُوا لِلنَّاسِ حُسْنًا. Speak well to all people. Then the Imam says, مُؤْمِنِهِمْ وَمُخَالِفِهِمْ. Those who are mu'min and those who are opponents. Don't say that, well, I only care about the Shia. If somebody is Sunni, then it doesn't matter, it doesn't bother me if I offend them. Or that I only care about Muslims, but if somebody is a non-Muslim, I don't care if I offend them. The Imam says, قُولُوا لِلنَّاسِ حُسْنًا. This is the commandment of Allah being emphasized by the Imam and explained by the Imam. مُؤْمِنِهِمْ وَمُخَالِفِهِمْ. If somebody is a believer, they are a member of your same religion, your same school of thought, they have to be treated with grace. And if somebody is an opponent, they also have to be treated with grace. أَمَّا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ فَيَبْسُطُ لَهُمْ وَجْهًا. For the believers, be extra gracious and extra kind. وَأَمَّا الْمُخَالِفُونَ فَيُكَلِّمُهُمْ بِالْمُدَارَاةِ. As for those who are your enemies or your adversaries or your opponents, then speak to them with gentleness and with kindness, لِاجْتِذَابِهِمْ إِلَى الْإِيمَانِ, in order to make them think well of and to encourage them to become believers, to become faithful. And look at our character in many cases. Even for our brothers and sisters and our fellow believers and other mu'mineen, sometimes we are very willing to pick a fight. Talk to the volunteers in our masajid, including our masjid here, and they will tell you how many times somebody said that, you know what, I'm not sure if I'm going to come back. Somebody in the masjid, they yelled at me for no reason. They spoke to me unkindly. People are coming here to worship Allah, to find a family, to find a community, and I say that, oh, you know what? You don't speak my language, you are not a member of my culture, you are not a member of my friend group, so it doesn't bother me if you don't feel welcome. Or maybe I will go out of my way to make you feel unwelcome. But the Imam says, forget those who are your family members, forget those who are your fellow believers, even somebody who is a mukhalif and an adversary, speak to them bil mudara lijtidabihim ila al-Islam, ila al-Iman, because you want to bring them close. So if a non-Muslim comes from a different religion, from a different ethnicity, from a different economic or social group, if they come into your gathering, then they should feel welcome. And they should say, I am not Muslim, but I want to come back here. I am not a member of the Ja'fari fiqh, but I want this to be my masjid. I am not related to anybody here, but I feel like these people are my family. This is a challenge. And let us see now if we accept that gift from Imam Hassan Askari, or if we say, yeah, Imam, give me the receipt. I want to go to Costco, I want to return your gift. I'm not interested in this. That's up to you and me now. And then the other and final wasiyah from Imam Hassan Askari, he says, أوصيكم بتقوى الله والورع في دينكم والاجتهاد لله. Oh my Shia, my wasiyah for you, for me and for each and every one of us, have fear of God. Always remember that God is there and He is watching, He is protecting, but He is also writing everything that we do. وَالْوَرَعِ فِي دِينِكُمْ. Be on guard for your religion. Don't just say what is wajib and what is haram. If it's wajib, I'll do the minimum. And if it is haram, I will do everything up until that last step which is prohibited. If it's makruh, it's okay. And sometimes you say it's haram, and people will say, is it haram? No, or is it just haram? No, wara' means not that you say if it's haram, I'll avoid it, but even if it's makruh, I'm going to stay away. If it is mustahab, then I will consider it to be important and an obligation. وَالْوَرَعِ فِي دِينِكُمْ وَالْإِجْتِهَادِ لِلَّهِ. Work hard for Allah. So many times we work hard for everything but Allah. There are times when we are struggling in our career. We are struggling nowadays the housing market has cooled just a little bit, but some of you probably remember when the market was very hot and people, they would make an appointment to see a house, and by the time the appointment came, it's already been sold. And so how much did people plan and struggle and make phone calls and make appointments and maybe even put an offer before they've seen the house? So we do ijtihad for our career. We do ijtihad for our children's education. We do ijtihad for our promotion. We do ijtihad to get into the graduate school or the professional school that we want. We do ijtihad to make sure that we fulfill our sales quota or our requirements at work. Then if I need to lose sleep, all right, I need to lose sleep. Then if I need to say no to a family wedding, I'll say no to a family. It's a work thing. It's an important trip. But then what about al-ijtihad lillah? When it comes to Allah, oh, I have work. Oh, this is my day that I go to the gym. Oh, this is I'm not saying that you do only for Allah. But whatever else in your life, if you're willing to sacrifice things because of an important football game, if you are willing to sacrifice things because of your career, if you are willing to sacrifice things because of your favorite hobby, then don't put the religion of Allah behind all of those other things. I will sacrifice what I do for God because I have a football game. I will sacrifice what I do for God because I have a work commitment. I will sacrifice what I do for God because I just need a day off to relax. But when it comes to other things in my life, then I will sacrifice my day off. Then I will sacrifice my football game. Then I will sacrifice my hobby. At the very least, if I work hard, then let me say I will work hardest for Allah. Now, the last few years, and many of you are our volunteers, and so you have experienced this, that a person, they plan and they are able to upgrade their life. They are able to afford tuition for their children's education. But then if you say that we need something to be a home and a resource for our community, I'm not sure I can afford that. I have a $100,000 car, but maybe I can give $25 a month, $50 a month, or maybe I'll sponsor, one majlis. That's the extent of my contribution. Everything that you give in the way of Allah with sincerity is accepted. And many times, a $1 donation is more honorable in the eyes of Allah than a $1 million donation, because Allah doesn't need our money. And Allah is not poor for us to say that we are going to enrich Allah or we are going to enrich Ahlul Bayt with our contribution. But I should have a sense of proportion. If every time I eat out, then I spend hundreds. But then when it comes to the house of Allah or the mission of Allah, then I am counting pennies. It is not that Allah is in need, but I should feel shame. Al-ijtihad lillah, where you budget, where you struggle, where you strive, where you sacrifice, let that be for the sake of Allah before anything else. And then our Imam says that وَأَدَاءِ الْأَمَانَةِ إِلَى مَنِ ائْتَمَنَكُمْ مِنْ بَرٍّ أَوْ فَاجِرٍ. Return the trusts to everybody who has entrusted you with something. Don't say that they are pious or they are impious. Everybody who has entrusted you, you should give the trust back to them. وَطُولِ السُّجُودِ وَحُسْنِ الْجِوَارِ. Lengthen your prostration and be a good neighbor. These are the wills of our Imam. I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of the birth of Imam Hassan Askari, may we all be among those people who recognize and value that leadership and guidance which Allah gave to us through Ahlul Bayt. On the day of the birth of Imam Hassan Askari, oh Allah, allow us to accept this gift and wasiyah which was given to us by our Imam, and allow us to be pleasing to our Imam. And oh Allah, as we pray, we ask you by the honor of Imam Hassan Askari in your eyes. He is the father of Imam Mahdi. Oh Allah, hasten the appearance of the son of Imam Hassan Askari, the Imam of our time. Bring an end to the evil and the oppression and the indignity and the humiliation of the Ummah of Muhammad through the heir of Muhammad, the son of Imam Hassan Askari, Imam Mahdi. عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. We can stand for ziyarah. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام على علي أمير المؤمنين، السلام على فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام على الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة، السلام على علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة بن الحسن القائم المهدي، صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين. صلوات